Hello everyone, it's Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and it's time for another edition of Against the Odds. So you probably know it's the first week of Ixalan Standard, which means we are heading to the new standard format to play our first Against the Odds deck, and what we're trying to do this week is see how many Jaces, Jace Cunning Castaways, we can make. Jace is a super unique planeswalker in that if you can ultimate it, it makes non-legendary token copies of itself. So we're trying to go wide with Jace's with the help of Anointed Procession. I'm calling this one Esper Jace tokens, and it should be interesting. So a quick reminder before we break down Esper Jace tokens for Ixalan Standard. If you enjoy this deck, and you enjoy Against the Odds in general, it would be spectacular of you if you could take a quick second, click that subscribe button down in the corner of your screen. It's a great way to support the channel and the site for free. So let's talk Esper Jace tokens, and of course the Jace we are talking about is Jace Cunning Castaway, a pretty debated card. 3 mana, 3 loyalty. You can +1, and if you deal combat damage with a creature, you get to loot. -2 makes a 2/2 blue illusion, which is essentially like a Phantasmal Bear, except it doesn't die to abilities, only if it becomes targeted by a spell. And then, if we get to the -5, we get 2 token copies of Jace that are non-legendary. So basic plan for the deck is to see how many copies, token copies, of Jace Cunning Castaway we can get on the battlefield at the same time, and for this, we turn to Anointed Procession. So Anointed Procession, infamous for doubling up tokens, and remember, Jace Cunning Castaway's copies are tokens, so if we can ultimate a Jace with an Anointed Procession on the battlefield, we not only get 2 copies, we actually get 4 copies, because each copy gets another copy, so we'll have 4 copies. And then if we have multiple Anointed Processions, who even knows, we'll have like 8 Jaces on the battlefield, it spirals out of control super quick. And then of course, if the game keeps going and our opponent doesn't scoop, we can keep plussing the token copies of Jace to make more copies, and in theory it's possible to have like 200 Jaces on the battlefield at once. The other thing is, we don't really need to do that to win the game. If you think about Jace's abilities, if we can maybe get, let's say, 4 Jaces because of Anointed Procession, and we immediately -2 all of them, each of those are going to make 2/2/2 blue illusion tokens, which altogether is going to be 8. If we have more Jaces, it can be even more than that. So it just spirals out of control super quickly once we ultimate a Jace with even a single Anointed Procession on the battlefield, should be able to win us the game. So to get to this combo of ultimating Jace with Anointed Procession, we gotta protect Jace. The problem with Jace is, he's not very good at protecting himself. If we just make the illusion, not only is it only a 2/2, but it puts Jace all the way down to 1 loyalty, which means we are basically an infinity away from getting the ultimate, making our copies, having all of our fun. So our plan is like threefold. First off, we have a bunch of other token makers which do a couple of things. First off, they're cheap, they come down before Jace and allow us to trigger the loot mode to find more of what we need. Second, they give us some chump blockers to keep Jace's loyalty high as we try to make more Jaces and get that big payoff of doubling and tripling and quadrupling up our Jaces. Legion's Landing, super sweet, comes down on turn 1 to give us a blocker. If we manage to flip it around, we're able to just make a 1/1 for 3 mana every turn. It has lifelink to keep our life total high. Hidden Stockpile is kind of an old trick with Anointed Procession. You can sack your servo each turn to trigger Revolt, which means you get 2 servos on your end step thanks to Anointed Procession. Also just kind of spirals out of control, and all these cards work really well with Anointed Procession as well. Getting 2 vampires with Legion's Landing. Anointed Priest is super important to the deck because it keeps our life total high, so we're not just going to die by gaining his life whenever a token enters the battlefield, and it comes back as a token, so after it itself dies, we can just embalm it, and we get 2 Anointed Priests, gain huge chunks of life to keep us out of the danger range, make sure we live long enough to start going off with Jace. Then we also have a bunch of removal, just to keep Jace surviving. Fatal Push, great in the deck because of Hidden Stockpile. We're constantly sacking stuff to trigger Revolt, which gives us the ability to kill a lot of things in the format for just 1 mana. Cast Out catches everything that Fatal Push does not, to make sure our opponent's not killing our Jace with Glory Bringers or Huge Dynasty dinosaurs. Then we have some wraths as well. Settle the Wreckage is great at getting rid of gods like Hazaret, gets things that our other wrath, Fumigate, doesn't get, although Fumigate is super good in this deck because we gain a bunch of life when our own tokens die, but we rebuild quickly thanks to Hidden Stockpile, thanks to Jace Cunning Castaway, so we gain a big chunk of life, clear the board. That gives us this buffer to ultimate our Jaces and go crazy with Jace and Anointed Procession. Finally, we got 2 copies of the Scarab God, which is mostly in the deck because I'm really in love with the Scarab God and it's a super strong card, but it does work well with Anointed Procession. What's better than embalming 1 token copy of a creature with Scarab God? It's getting 2 copies thanks to Anointed Procession. So imagine just like killing our opponent's Glorybringer, getting it back for 4 mana, getting an extra copy of it with Scarab God. That seems like a really sweet way to close out some games. The rest of the deck, Renegade Map and Evolving Wilds, are worth mentioning because Renegade Map is basically part of our mana base. We're only playing 22 actual lands, but we also have 4 Renegade Maps, which means we kind of have like 26 lands, or if you count map as half a land, like 24 lands, but more lands than it looks like. The important thing with both of these are that they trigger Revolt. So if we play a Hidden Stockpile, we need a way to get that first servo going so we can start sacking that servo to make more servos, to do more scrying, to find what we need. Renegade Map and Evolving Wild are basically just lands that enter the battlefield trap, but also trigger Revolt for free to get that servo with our Hidden Stockpile. Then we have a bunch of dual lands and some basic lands. As far as the sideboard, we get some more sweet token finishers. Angel of Sanctions, come down, get rid of a planeswalker, a big threat from our opponent. When it embalms, we get 2 copies, which is super devastating. Regal Caracal makes a ton of cats if we have Anointed Procession out. Happens to be right on curve with Anointed Procession. And then another Scarab God if we really want to go deep with the Scarab Gods. Otherwise, a little bit more as far as removal, Settle the Wreckage and Fumigates, Duresses and Negates to deal with spell-based decks, Lost Legacy mostly for blue-white approach, just get rid of all their approaches and it's really hard for them to win, and 1 Authority of the Consuls to deal with Ramanamp Red primarily, gain a little bit extra life, and that is Esper Jace tokens for Standard, and that's our Against the Odds deck for this week. So, is this deck going to work? I don't know. I mean, I feel like we can gain a lot of life. We got a decent amount of removal. We can make a lot of tokens. My big question is, can we go off with Jace? That's really what this is all about. I don't want to win by making a bunch of 1/1 vampires. I don't want to win by making a bunch of servos with Hidden Stockpile. I want to see a whole bunch of Jaces on the battlefield. So hopefully we run into an opponent that not only allows us to have our draw work out one way or another, but doesn't scoop the match when they see that 4 or 8 or however many Jaces are going to be coming, because I really want to see that happen. So fingers crossed we actually get to do the Jaceness and have a bunch of Jaces on the battlefield, because it seems super, super sweet and super exciting. Anyway, that's our Against the Odds deck for this week. Esper Jace tokens for Ixalan Standard. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy the gameplay videos, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, help us out by clicking that like button down below. And to keep up on all the latest and greatest, click that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell icon to get alerts whenever we have new videos. And if you want to, check out some of our other sweet videos here and here.